Hello, this is Professor White. Today we will talk about adding integers. So let's get started. Let's talk about adding two positive numbers. As you know, positive numbers are also integers, and we talked about how they go on the number line. So let's put our 0 in there. If I add 2 and 3, you have to remember that when you see a positive in front of a number, and this 2 has a redundant positive in here, so always think that there is this imaginary positive in front of a number if there is no negative in front of it. So if I add a 2 and a 3, I need to remember that I go to the right for positive and left for the negative when I add them. All right. So there's a positive in front of 2, so I'm going to go right, 1, 2, and here I am right now. And I go another 3, plus 3, 1, 2, 3. Where did I end up? Here's 1, 2, and then another 3. 2 plus 3, that's simply 5. I ended up on 5. So you have to remember when you see 2 plus 3, this is like just adding any numbers. You have a plus 2 that you don't see, plus, and then there's another plus here that you don't see. And it's an addition. So double plus is just the plus. So you don't have to put them in there. And usually this form is not used, but you will see just 2 plus 3. So that's pretty simple in there. So what happens when you add more than 2 numbers? How does that work? Let's say 2 plus 3 plus 1. So I'll put my redundant positives in there. Here's a 2, 3, and a 1. So they are little invisible pluses. And you can put them in parentheses if you want, but they're not there. You have to understand that. Okay? 2 plus 3 plus 1. Start with 0. 2 is to the right because there is nothing in front of it. That means it's a plus. 1, 2. Here I am. Another 3. 1, 2, 3, another 1. Okay, what do I have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I ended up right here. So what did I do? I just simply did them from left to right. So you have to remember when you're adding more than 2 positive integers, you have to go from left to right, add the 2, and then the next one, and then the next one if you have a fourth one in there. All right, how about adding 2 negative numbers? Now, I can put the negatives in here, and you have to remember when you see negative, it is to the left, and positive is to the right when you move on your number line when you add. Here's my 0. So what I'm going to do now, you're going to add negative 2, so that means it's going to go to the left, 1, 2, here I am. Plus negative 3, another 3 to the left, 1, 2, 3. So these will tell me which way do I go, and it's adding. So how did I end up? I ended up at negative 5. Now one thing you have to remember, when you see a plus minus next to each other, that means just the minus. So you can see this negative 2 plus negative 3 as negative 2 minus 3. That plus minus together may change into a subtraction alone. So actually this negative 2 plus negative 3 is the same as negative 2 minus negative 3, which ends up being negative 5. So sometimes that might be an easy tool for you to kind of think about and kind of do your subtraction that way. Okay, what happens when you add more than 2 negative numbers? Just like adding positive numbers, you do them from left to right. Let's put my 0 in here. Negative 2 means I'm going to go to the left, 1, 2. Plus, I'm going to go to the left more, 3 more. 1, 2, 3. Here I am now at negative 5. And then I'll go 1 more. And this is the last one I do. 1 more. So where did I go? This is negative 1, negative 2, negative 3, negative 4, negative 5, negative 6. I ended up at negative 6. Just like before, when you see a plus minus, right, like this, you can put just minus. Remember that? It's the same as minus. So I could have written the same problem as negative 2, negative 3, negative 1. That will simply give you negative 6. All right, so remember this statement. When you see plus minus together, that means just minus. And you can go back and forth between those two concepts. Now, let's look at when we add two opposite sign numbers, like a positive and a negative. Remember, you have a positive here that you don't see. Okay, so I did it a different color. I don't know if you can see that. I'll use red. All right, positive 2 plus negative 3. This one tells me I have to go right, 1, 2. Here I am. This is my 0. Plus negative 3. What's that mean? I'm going to go back left now because positive is right, negative is left. So negative 3. I was here, 1, 2, 3. Where did I end up? At negative 1. So this is the same as 2 minus 3, remember? So I end up at negative 1. 2 minus 3, I end up at negative 1. Now, think about this. This is another little trick some of my students sometimes tell me. When you're adding two opposite sign numbers, you're going to take the difference. Like the difference between 2 and 3, that's 1. So that's a given. Now, to find out whether or not you have a positive or negative answer, you just kind of look at your numbers. The negative was with the 3, and 3 is a bigger number. So you're going to end up with a negative sign in front of it because this belongs to the bigger number. So you take the difference, and the sign will end up with the bigger number. So let's look at this one. 3 plus negative 2. How's that work? I'm going to go 1, 2, 3 to the right, 1, 2, 3. And then 2 to the left, 1, 2. I end up at 1. So does that work with the concept that I just explained? You take the difference, which is 1, and 3 is bigger number, so that is positive, and 2 is the smaller number, that's negative, so this is going to end up being a positive number. So you don't even have to put a positive in there, you can just put 1. So remember, when you add the two opposite sign numbers, you just keep track of the sign, which one goes with the bigger number. Okay. Now, what happens with absolute values? Remember, the absolute meaning of absolute value was distance away from 0. So when I have absolute value of negative 3, that means how far away am I from 0? And it's always a positive number. So what you need to do is you need to establish what this is first. The absolute value. Absolute value of negative 3 is simply 3. So this problem is the same as 2 plus, you establish that 3, minus plus minus 4. So let's do that. 2 means to the right. This is my 0. 1, 2. Then I go another 3. 1, 2, 3. Then I go back 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Where did I end up? At 1. So 2 plus 3 is 5, minus 4, that's simply 1. So let's do this one. Negative 2 plus 4 plus absolute value of negative 6 minus 4. So how does that work? Negative 2 is negative 2 plus 4 plus, you do the absolute value first, 6 minus 4. Guess what? So let's do them from left to right. Negative 2 plus 4, that's 2. You take the difference, and it goes positive. Plus 6, that's 8. And then take away 4, that will give you 4. Okay? So pay attention when you do the absolute values. You do them from left to right, but make sure you do the absolute values first. Let's put all this together. So, the other thing you have to remember, when you have a double negative next to each other, that's a positive. So subtracting a negative number is the same as adding. Okay? So remember that. So when you have a double negative, that's going to give you a positive. When you have positive, negative, that'll give you a negative. For negative, positive, that'll give you a negative. So these three rules. And you're going to put your 0. So let's clean those double negative situations. Now double negative 3, so that's a 3. Plus minus. Now I have to do the absolute value first. Absolute value of negative 1 is 1. Plus minus. And absolute value of 2 is 2. So that's distance away from 0. So let's do it. There's a 3. There's no negative. So you're going to go to the right. 1, 2, 3. Here I am. Minus 4. That'll go left. 1, 2, 3, 4. Do you see how I count? 1, 2, 3, 4. That way. So I am at negative 1 right now. Negative 1 plus 1. Now I go back to the right 1. So that gives me 0. Now I'm here. Now let's go back left. 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Here I am. Negative 5. Guess what? I need to go right 2. So I was here, right 2. 1, 2. Where did I end up? I ended up at negative 3. So negative 5 plus 2 is simply negative 3. All right? So the answer to that is negative 3 right here. All right. So that ends our addition portion. So next we are going to talk about subtraction of integers.